I'm here at Home Depot getting some stocking up on some Christmas supplies. I got I'm going to need to get a lot of these, probably more than I have here, but we have the 100 set of red Christmas lights, 20 and a half feet. These are $2.50 a pop. And then I stopped and I took a look at this just for just to look at it. You got looks like a 10-foot piece of 4-inch drain pipe for $7. And don't think I'm going to do it this year, but it is a good possibility, a good option. Let me see if I can get this stood up while holding the camera to be able to make a candy cane that's probably about 7 feet tall. And you'd have to drive a piece of wood or a pole into the ground to be able to attach the long piece to, and then maybe some fishing line just to tie to here to there to keep the bend in it, and then white spray paint and maybe some red duct tape. You can wrap this and make it into a pretty decent size candy cane for $7. Well, $7 plus the spray paint and the tape and whatever pole you're going to slide this over. So maybe a project for another year. What we have here is we have 3/16 inch coated, uncoated, 100-foot long. I only really need 60 feet, but there's 100 foot here. This is $35. And we've got the 3/16 inch clamps, 2 of these. These are like $3 a piece. And then I don't know exactly what you would call this, turnbuckle eye hook. This is to make sure that the cable stays tight. And I'll show you, how I put this together, what I have in mind anyway. And that's about another $3 there. So hopefully that'll be all the material I need for the in between the palms is what we'll call it. Okay, well, hopefully I can get something Christmas-wise done today. I've got some time in between baseball games, and then tomorrow, most of the day tomorrow. What I'm going to do is in between the 2 palm trees, I'm going to have a wire, and the big Christmas wreath is going to go up there, and we have 8 channels on each side. Each channel is going to have to be 2 feet long. And if you remember last year, I built these for my eaves on my old house. But I can't use them because they don't match the same size. So I'm going to take these apart. I'm going to use the smaller piece of PVC, cut those into 2-foot sections, and then wrap those smaller pieces. I need to do 16 of those. And then those will slip right over the wire when I put the wire up. So if I can get those done, then I can actually hang the wire, and then when I get the wreath up, I can hang the wreath right where it needs to go, and that should be done for that. So that's my first step. I'm going to take those down and start taking them apart. Well, it's coming along slowly but surely, but we've got our pieces cut. So they're 2 feet long. Our pieces cut for our chasing wire, or I don't know what you call it. And luckily I'm not actually using these for the eaves this year, because the majority of the ones I'm taking off are either broken or they don't work. So I'm just glad, because I'd have to pretty much rewrap them anyway. So got one of them wrapped. That's what the final project looks like. Well, after the wrap anyway. I'm trying to go a little bit thinner than I did, as you can see with these. Number one, because they're 2 feet long versus, let's say, a foot long. But number two, I want to try to keep it as lightweight as possible, because this is going to be, a cable is going to hold 16 strands on top of the PVC pipe, the wreath with an additional 8 strands, ornaments and things I'm going to put on the wreath, and then for maybe even 8 additional strands for the swoops that I'm putting on, for lack of better terms. But just to recap how I did this, now I do have videos that I put together before. I put you right here, hopefully you'll be able to see, on how to wrap, how to make jumping eaves or chasing eaves or jumping arches or whatever. But basically what I do is I take the male end and I tuck all the excess into the pipe. And the reason I start with the male end is because I want to make sure that no matter what, the male end is at the very end. And if you start with a female end here and you wrap, and maybe you come back, you have to come back to cover some of the things. Your end will be right in the middle. We want it to make sure to be at the very end. At least I want it to make sure it's going to be at the very end. So I always start with the male end. I tuck this in so it doesn't get tangled up, and then I just go ahead and start wrapping. Now, depending on your spacing of your lights, see in this case all of them are falling right next to each other. This won't necessarily be the case the entire strand, I'm finding. Like it might go for this for a little while, and then it'll get a little off, and then you'll have like a strand, a row of lights. That's what I'm trying to say. A row of lights that come all the way over and wrap around. But if you're coming and you find that it's just not, the strand is not cooperating when it comes to this. See how it's starting to come and starting to shift a little. You're just going to want to space it out a little bit more. So what we'll do is we'll make this wrap a little bit looser, so they're not lined up quite a bit. Plus I'm trying to get by with one strand to do 2-foot section. So as you can see with this one, there is some spacing in between there, which you won't even see it at night, but which will, by making the wrap a little bit looser, it'll spread the light bulbs out a little bit more. This way you don't have them all falling right in the same line. Now it all depends on the spacing of the lights. It all depends on the thickness of the pipe, because this is 1/2 inch, and wrapping 3/4 of an inch, the spacing would be different because it's it's a longer distance to wrap around. But once we get all the way down to the end, we might still find, as you can see what's happening here, you might still find that you want it more sporadic. So what you'll probably do is just leave yourself another 2 foot at the end to kind of wrap up in the middle to kind of fill in this area with the tail end of the lights. So that's just a suggestion, and you can do whatever works best for you. And you never know with what you use, you might never have this issue, but you never know until you do it. So if you are going to buy all new material and all new lights to do something like this, what I would do while you're in the store is open up the strand of lights, go find the piece of PVC and start wrapping it, the one that you're going to use, and see if you're having that issue. If you are, maybe go to a larger size piece of PVC, because that might make a big difference, especially if you're using all the same kind of lights with the same spacing and everything. Try to avoid having, try to think ahead of the game to try to avoid any problems that you might. Well, it's baseball time again, so I've got my other son's baseball game that I got to go to here, so I'll be back around 6 tonight, and hopefully I've got 5 of the 16 that I need done, and they don't take long to do. I guess it's just doing it. So once I get that up, hopefully tonight I'll be able to run the cable and maybe even hang the wreath. I gotta test the wreath to make sure that the lights are working, but that's my goal. Alright, well, it is 8:30, and I've finally got all the 16 channels wrapped, tested, they're all working. I'm going to be hanging this with the 3/16 inch wire rope, galvanized. This is 100 feet. Probably shouldn't need more than 60, but I got this package because it was cheaper to do it this way. And then I got some clamps. Now this wire has a clamp on one side, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that, fish it through that, around that tree, as high as I can go. And then I'm going to bring it over to this side, and I'm going to use the clamps over here to, I forgot the whatever they call it, to put over here to make sure it's as tight as possible. tight as possible. Before I put it up, I'm gonna have to fish all these all these tubes down the wire, and then I'll have to lift it up and get it as tight as I possibly can. So that'll be a chore. I'm hoping to at least get that up and done tonight, and I'll be happy if I do that. So let's. All right, so I'm gonna carry both of these ends up the ladder. Wrap it around and fish it through the loop. Take it, Russ. La, 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 la. All right. Got this up at a decent height. Kind of interested to see after we get all the weight on this wire how much it's going to pull this tree. The trees. I'm sure they're strong enough to hold it. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be a good 200, 250 pounds worth of lights, extension cords, decorations on this cable. And I'm going to try to pull it as tight as I can because I don't want it to swoop, even though I know it's going to. Alright. And we tie it to this tree. Hopefully get it as straight as I can. Now I've got to check something real quick. Figure out which side, which box, because there's going to be a box in that tree and there's going to be a box in that tree. And figure out what side is the chasing going to be plugged into, because that'll determine which way I put the tracing bars. So let's see. So candy canes. That's gonna be on this over here. Alright, so the box is gonna be controlling these chaser bars. Is gonna be in that tree. And with that said, I need all the nail plugs to be facing that way, just to make my life a little bit easier and the amount of extension cords a little less. I should have 16 of these, hopefully. Okay. All right. I'm sure that the measurement is off, but we'll see. I've got it wrapped around up there. I got this cable double clamped and then looped back around and double clamped again. And hopefully I can get that hook to hook onto here. I'm sure, and I'm going to have a problem doing this. I knew it was going to be difficult, but this is a lot of weight on this wire, and if there's any way I could have put it on without putting the wire up by itself, it would have been a lot easier. But what can you do when you've got these poles? So let's try it, see what we get. Well, I'm kind of hooked. Problem is, it's nowhere near as tight as I need it to be. Well, I don't have a come along, but I've got the next best thing. This is just a tie down strap. Not sure how much I can get pull-wise from it, but I might be able to do this a couple times. I'll wrap it around the tree, hook it to there, ratchet it down, adjust the cable, hook it back onto the cable, and if I need to do it again, I'll do it again. So just hopefully not break my neck in the meantime. Hook it on here. Come along would work really good here. Because with a come along you could usually pull it quite a bit, quite a distance. Okay, see if I can pull as tight as I can. I'm not going to be able to get much more of this strap. That's about it. But yeah, I'm going to have to do this a couple times. Well, the ratcheting strap worked well. I had to do it twice, but it works as it come along. I've got all this extra cable here that I'm just going to tuck either up in the tree or back behind the tree. There's no reason to cut it or anything. Just keep it one solid piece. And as you can see here, my what do they call this again? Turnbuckle is extended to the furthest. So if I wanted to tighten this up, I just get a screwdriver and I turn this, and then these things will clamp together. So I shouldn't have to. There is, I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see any of it. Let me turn this off. I'll show you some more in the next footage, next video. I'm going to try to get this video edited for tonight, but in the next video for tomorrow, you can see that there is a sag, and there's going to be a sag. There's no way I'd be able to pull this tight. And I will be putting a wreath on, which weighs probably a good 40-50 pounds right in the middle, so there'd be more of a sag. So I might have to ratchet it this to one more time to make it a little bit tighter. But if I can get it at this angle, this little droop or swag or whatever you want to call it, sag in the middle, then that's satisfactory to me. The wreath will be hanging, the top of the wreath will be about where the wire is, and it'll come down. So as we sit here, we get the tower in the back, which I don't know if you can see or not, will be up above it. The roof line will pretty much, you'll be able to see the roof line, and the wreath right in the middle will block a little bit of the roof, but it'll be okay. So that's it.